Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. I'm Tom, as always.
Day one of podcasting.
Gorgeous, intelligent, very hard-working Disney Cruise Line and Dillo's Diz loving wife and co-host, Michelle.
Yes, to both of those things. Hi, everybody. Thanks, honey.
We're laughing because I just totally screwed up the intro that I normally lead us into every show before you even heard it.
That's why I said, like, first timer.
maybe in the director's cut you'll get it at some point.
Yes.
But, I was just totally leading into it, and I was just a mess. So we're off to a roaring start for today's episode, which, by the way, we are recording on Saturday, October 1st of 2022. A very happy birthday, one to EPCOT, it's their 40th birthday, and to Magic Kingdom, which is its 51st birthday as of today, as we're recording this. Of course, this episode is actually dropping on Sunday, October 2nd, 2022. And we actually have a portion of this show, a large portion of this show, that we recorded a little bit ago on, I believe it was September 21st of 2022. Right, so lots of dates, actually. All that matters is that we're happy that you joined us today.
You're right. I was like, what am I going to take out of that? That's like when we're watching, like Star Wars films and they introduce the planets, and I'm like, okay, am I going to remember that planet's name?
And I'll answer that really quickly. No,
I know.
She will not. She won't. That's okay. I don't know if I will every time,
right.
But I know Michelle won't.
Yes. It's like, do I have to commit that to memory right away?
Well, at least there's a few you remember right off the bat.
Yeah. Once in a
while.
They
need to be. The new planets are tough to go by, but some of the oldies but goodies,
right?
You know very well.
Right. That's why I say when it's like first showing and they put the name out, it's like, do I have to like first do the, memory games in my head, or can I just watch the show?
Yeah. Well, usually a lot of things, like especially like with Andor or whatever, I would at first not worry about it. And then if it keeps reappearing, then you'll eventually have to put it to your memory, or you will put it to your memory as to what that place is, or you'll at least know, oh, that's his home world, or oh, that's where he's meeting with so-and-so regularly, or whatever, and you may not remember the name, and that's fine. You don't need to be that big of a Star Wars nerd.
I mean, going back and watch it. Anyways, we digress.
Yes. Already way off the map early in this episode. You'd think, maybe it was the recording with Frank and Jen and knowing how much they tangent all the time. It's just kind of, we've kind of picked that up.
Yeah. We're kind of, like you said, picked it up. It filled the room, and we're getting on that
essence.
Great.
That Dillo's Diz essence is going with us. But anyway.
Okay, let's
move it on. Thank you for joining us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
we would love for you to sign up for the newsletter. And I'm just going to put it out there right now, and since we're talking about Disney Cruise Line today, that I will be posting there a link for you who are newsletter subscribers to get a free 30-page printable activity booklet. And it's great for like little ones because it kind of, before the cruise, you can show it to them and it gives them like an overview of all the different things that they're going to be able to see and do. And then taking that with them on the cruise, they can make notes in it and different sections. And it really makes for a great free souvenir of their trip.
Wonderful. I like that. And everybody who subscribes to the newsletter is going to get their chance to download that if they want. So that's fantastic. Yeah. Very nice. Very nice. As I've said, the newsletter now, it's all full of Michelle-ness, and that is a lot of Michelle-ness right there. It's just a great way to be involved in the Hyperion Adventures podcast world. Another great way is through social media. We have a lot of fun with a lot of you out there on social media. And if you want to follow along with us there, you can find us on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Have we done much on Pinterest recently? No. But we're going to get back into it, I have no doubt. Anyway, we do have stuff there on Pinterest that you can check out from previously, and we'll get back involved in that as well.
Yeah.
Also, if you are on Facebook, please come over and join us for some good, positive Disney energy fun on our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group.
Yeah, as we say every week, it's a great group. Love the interactions and the sharing and, just the positivity that comes out of there.
For sure. Lots of great members there sharing, some positive things from their life. Yes, Disney, but also just whatever they have going on that is good in the world in general as well. Our guest from a couple of weeks ago, the Cottons, Jonathan Cotton, we mentioned it on the episode at how he collects vinyl. He collects vinyl records, and he posted a cool picture of had the vinyl picture discs of a lot of the songs that we did on our 5 favorite list from that episode of our 5 favorite pop versions of Disney songs.
Right.
So that was cool.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought that was so sweet. I loved it. And I loved, sharing that information, and it reminded me of how great that was doing that episode.
That was a lot of fun. That episode was a lot of fun. And today's episode is a lot of fun as well. Also, we are on YouTube. Now, we have had a little delay on the most recent video I promised you on YouTube because, there's been a little something that's happened in our state. And by the way, thoughts and prayers with everybody who had it a lot worse than we did in our state.
Right.
We know a lot of you over on the West Coast.
We're talking about Hurricane Ian.
Hurricane Ian, of course. A lot of you on the West Coast, around the Fort Myers, Sarasota, even Tampa area. And a lot of people also even in the middle of the state around Orlando.
And Daytona Beach.
Yeah. We've had it really tough. So, our thoughts are with you. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help you out. We got it easy over here in Palm Bay. We only got some wind and some rain, and it was... it was a little messy, but it wasn't nearly what a lot of other people faced.
Right. And I think that was helpful too, that you actually made us safe with boarding us up and everything like that. So
wanted to be sure we were safe, and we were. Anyway, I digress about that as well. That video will be coming. We just had some things that distracted us from getting that finished out to you, but hopefully this week I will have that on our YouTube page, which you can find if you just do a quick search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, hit subscribe. You'll know whenever that video or any other video we have comes there. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. Like we say every week, we just love hearing from you. So whether it's just to say hi or share some fun things that you're doing, or if you have a question about anything, we'd love to be able to help answer that.
Yeah. Anything you want to say to us, any reason you want to contact us, the Gmail account is a great way. Also, you can always, direct message us anywhere on our social media, and we're happy to talk with you there as well. Now, if you'd like to help support this show and get a little swag out of it, well, there's a couple great ways to do that. One is through our Spreadshirt shop. That's probably the easiest way. You just need to go to spreadshirt.com and do a search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast, or you can go to any of our social media profile pages. There we have a Linktree account, and along that Linktree will be a link straight to that page. And you can shop for a whole bunch of different items with our various different logos, and we get a portion of everything that you buy there. And that helps us, with the cost that it takes to do this show. And you get to wear some of our cool stuff when you're at home, at the parks, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And as we've mentioned recently, they've been adding some things to it. And the logos, there are various ones there to choose from. So, we'd love it if you'd shop there.
Yes, please do. And we, like I said, lots of great stuff. We just bought some new stuff ourselves from there, and looking forward to getting some more items and maybe working on some new logos and interesting stuff in the coming year. So we'll see what happens with that. Another great way is to become a Patreon member of the show. If you just go to patreon.com/Hyperion Adventures Podcast, we have tiers there starting as low as $2 per month, and you can get some swag and some other things just by doing that. And I know Michelle has a lot of stuff planned for our Patreon members coming in the near future.
Yeah. I'm going to be reaching out about an episode that we have coming up. I think it's in November, but I want to invite our Patreons to participate in that. And every once in a while, I do send things specifically just to the Patreons.
You'll want to be a part of that for sure. And thanks to everybody who is already a Patreon member of this show. Now, before we get into this week's episode, we always like to take a look back at the week that was. And even though it's been a rather tough week for those of us here in Florida, and maybe those of you who are up and around the South Carolina and everything area, as Ian went all the way up to there recently. Still, we find that there's these little gems, these little bright spots within the week that we like to focus on more than the negative. You know, this is the show of positivity, and that's what we like to focus on. So we'd like to look back at our favorite thing from this week. And when we do this, we always start with Michelle because she's awesome, fantastic, all things great in the world. She has the best lists. She does the best research. You know, she has the best tips, but she almost always has the best my favorite thing from this week. So Michelle, what is your favorite thing from this week?
Originally I was thinking of saying that we did okay with the hurricane. But no, I think my favorite thing was we had talked about some possible rescheduling of a cruise that we had to postpone. And we looked at things and finally determined and booked our next Disney cruise that'll be coming up in January of 2023 on the newest Disney Wish.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing from this week is too. I'm really excited to be sailing aboard the Disney Wish.
The other fun thing about that was that between the regular, we're looking at a deluxe ocean view, and we decided, when doing the research, found that the family size was $12 total difference, I think, or $14. And it's like, wow, that was a nice find. For just $14 more, we get a larger cabin. A little more spacious, and we'll be enjoying that and just checking out all the fun stuff aboard the brand new Disney Wish, which we're very, very excied about. So, but I'm sorry I interrupted.
That's okay. That's kind of the way the day is going. I'm interrupting you. You're interrupting me. We're just kind of in that mode today for whatever reason. It's all good. It's all good. Anyway, yes, that's my favorite thing from this week as well. I'm excited to do a lot of the planning, looking into everything that is aboard that ship, especially since there have been several people that have done it now. So we can kind of get an idea of what to expect going into it, you know, without trying to spoil too much. I'll have to avoid, you know, the hashtag Real Men Love Frozen dining experience because I don't want to find out until I get there. I want to find out what goes on until I get there. But I'm very excited about it all. So that's great. Another interesting thing from this week is that we got an email from one of our great Hyperion adventurers, Scott in Minnesota, who mentioned he's going to be going aboard the Disney Wish coming at the end of January and then taking a trip here to Walt Disney World. And he asked us if we'd like to meet up with him and his lovely wife and his daughter for, maybe in the parks, maybe for a cocktail, meal, whatever. And well, I'm here to tell you now, Scott, that we are going to meet up with you for a cocktail or two, or maybe five, or maybe several nights of cocktail. Because guess what? That cruise we just booked happens to be on the same date you are going to be aboard the Disney Wish too. So Scott, if you're listening, we'll see you aboard the Disney Wish at the end of January.
I know, that's so funny that it turned out that way. I remember I had forgotten he had mentioned that he was going to be going on a Disney cruise. I think he put that on his favorite things a while back for the week. And so that's
not why we booked it, but it is a fun coincidence.
Yeah. So
that'll be fun. So we're looking forward to, Scott, if you're listening, we're looking forward to it. And anybody else wants to come on that cruise with us, just come on. We'll have a great time for sure out there on the high seas. So that's enough about last week. Let's go ahead and move on to this week's show. I actually have a lot of stuff for you this week, including we now know the all-star lineup that will be heading up EPCOT's Candlelight Processional this holiday season. We'll be breaking that down for you. Also, there is a guest favorite late night event that is returning to the most magical place on earth. We'll tell you all about that. And we may be seeing a lot more of everybody's favorite purple dragon in the near future. We'll tell you what that's about as well. But enough about all that. We're very excited for this. Yeah. Let's go ahead and get to our main topic of the week. So this has been a long time coming. I actually didn't even realize how long it's been until we were just talking with them before we started hit record here.
Crazy.
But it's been since 2020 that we've talked to Frank and Jen from Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. How can that be, Michelle?
It's just phenomenal. It's been way too long, and we totally miss you all. But of course, we're hearing each other all the time, so I guess maybe that's why it feels like we're together more. But
well, let's not keep them waiting any longer. Frank, Jen, Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. Welcome back to the Hyperion Adventures podcast.
Yay! Thank
Hello.
you. I still don't believe this, and I'm going to be doing some research and find us talking somewhere since 2020. I refuse to believe it.
that's right.
I mean, I did sign an agreement prior to this recording that said Michelle will not ask us any trivia questions prior.
That was
I'm
important.
going to hold her to that. I don't want to cease and desist coming in here from Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz anytime. Guys, it's so great to connect with you once again. We love your show. We love you guys. You guys are some of the best people in the Disney creator community, and this is going to be really fun. And we have many reasons to bring them on, but I think the one that really inspired us to make sure this happened was that recently they did something that, one of them hasn't done in, I think it's about 10 years, and the other one hasn't ever done, and that's go on a Disney cruise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Guilty. This was my first one in August. It was about time is really, I guess, it was about time.
So let's just go ahead and go into this interview. What were your expectations? I know, Jen, you've been on a Disney cruise, so you had at least a little knowledge going in. Frank, you had never been on. What were your expectations leading into this cruise?
Oh, she's nodding to me because I had never been. Well,
right.
This was a complete family cruise. It was Jen's family, it was my family, and it was Mama and Papa Dillo because they were celebrating their 50th anniversary. Jen and I separately with our spouses celebrating 10 years. So I think for that, it was going to be cool no matter what. Personally, I'm not the best on the high seas. I get a little bit of seasick, so there's always that looming over me. I was hopeful that I like cruising. That's why I keep going, even though it can make me queasy on occasion. But I expected a level up here from a Disney cruise for the first time. And usually we call it Dilloing the expectations. We try to keep it cool, but there was a little bit of it was peeking through a little bit, the high expectations.
Yeah, for sure. And I think as we got closer to the cruise, we realized how little we had planned for the cruise, which is very Dillo to not plan trips. However, with a cruise, when you're away for a week, it's like, oh, maybe we should have looked into some stuff a little bit more. I don't know. But yeah, I think we were the expectation was sort of like, we're all going to do this together. This will be the first time for my kids to be on any cruise, only the second for Frank's 6-year-old. And so we really don't know how they're going to be. So let's just let it all roll. And if we're in the pool every day, that's great. And that'll be it. But I think we were definitely Dilloing the expectations as much as possible.
So what was the itinerary? You were on the Disney Fantasy, correct?
Yes, Eastern Caribbean. So we stopped at St. Thomas, Tortola, and Castaway Cay. And then I think it was, 3 days of islands, 3 days at sea. So I didn't get off the boat until Castaway Cay. Frank and his family got off at St. Thomas. So there was a little bit there. And then we all stayed on the boat for Tortola because we kind of like the pools are a little emptier today.
Yeah.
Let's stay here.
Right.
And then I don't even know which beach you went to in St. Thomas, right?
Oh man, you got to quiz me. Jen's asking the quiz questions.
That's right.
Now.
Putting you on the spot.
You could have asked me a couple of weeks ago. I would have remembered. I don't remember. We know if we just looked at the board, we said that's the one we recognize. How much is the cat fare? Let's go.
Yes.
Well, I like that it was a whole family affair too.
Yeah.
You had your parents along, you had the kids along, the whole family was there. That had to be a wonderful experience for them.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. And I think that was probably Mama and Papa Dillo are big cruisers for our whole lives. They are very big cruisers. This was their first cruise in a post-COVID world or a current whatever COVID world. And so, but they leading up to it, you know, if you ask them, they were most excited to kind of just experience it through the kids' eyes. You know, for them, they're like, yep, a cruise, cool. We're happy anytime we're on a cruise. But they were excited to kind of have that time with the kids, and in a way where, you know, being in the parks with them is great, which we got to do for the day before we went on the cruise. But just having like time and not rushing from thing to thing or having, you know, anything strict to do except eat, drink, and be merry. So they were looking forward to that the most. So I think that really worked out just to kind of have time together.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is for each of you to answer separately. What were some of your unexpected favorite activities? Like you went into the cruise not either knowing something was going to be happening and you found it like just amazing, or something you thought would be, oh, it's so going to be fun, but it was really tremendous.
I think I'm going to know Jen's answer, but so I'll try to answer the other way. Is, you know, my cast member experience, I was a cast member in the 90s at Walt Disney World, and I worked very closely with the Disney characters. So the first couple of days, you know, everyone is rushing to the characters. Right. Everyone's waiting. And I was like, this is madness. This is crazy. And I'm also old school. So I miss when the characters used to just roam around the park and you didn't have to wait in a queue for every single character. So, you know, but I was enjoying eyeballing the scene and trying to figure out the system and what they were doing and how it was all going. I was like into the production side of it. And as things lit up a little bit and I started kind of picking up on, how you can catch certain characters just turning a corner or in a hallway or going from one place to another. Like it was an exponential growth for me over the week of just by the end of the cruise, like all I wanted to do was try to grab a picture with the characters, see what the characters were doing, seeing where they were placed. I thought which costumes they were wearing. All of that to me was like it hit that nostalgic side of me, which is rare to hit the cast member nostalgia side of me. and that I think was, you know, the most surprising thing, because I found myself taking more pictures and trying to see who was around, and I really got great enjoyment out of that.
Cool.
Yeah, we had said that there were times where we'd run into characters and feel like, oh, we're getting in their way, or oh, they probably have to be somewhere. And they're just walking around, hanging out. And we're like, oh, you're just, the princesses are stopping, talking to our girls and getting on their level, want to see what crafts they did that day. And we're like, what is happening? What is this world we're in? This is amazing. This is great. Yeah, so I knew he would know my answer. So for me, I had no expectations that my kids would definitely go to the Oceaneer Club. I had hopes maybe they would at least try it. Maybe they'd do it for a day. They were obsessed with it. All three of them were. That's all they wanted to do. We didn't even do the show on the last night because they would have rather been at the club. So for me, that was like very unexpected, because pretty much aside from seeing Frozen and Aladdin, every other night the grown-ups were together having some drinks, and the kids were in the Oceaneer Club having the time of their lives. They also got to see characters in there, but they were playing games. They were, you know, doing crafts. They both were coming. All three of them actually were coming back with backpacks of just crafts in there. And I have one on the desk. Right here's a Mickey and a popsicle stick. You know, so like it was nonstop. And any spare minutes we had, they wanted to be there. So that was unexpected. And I think for us, we knew that the Oceaneer Club would be cool. I had heard there was an Andy's room, but we got to see it on our last day, right before we went off to Castaway Cay. We were kind of letting the crowds get off the boat first, and we went up and there was an open house, and we were like, this place is amazing. We want to hang out here. It was so cool. So that definitely like exceeded expectations for sure.
Cool.
Yeah. I think you're speaking right to us in the fact that these are things that we've talked about before. Is like when we go on Disney cruises, one of our favorite things and why we love it so much is how you can just turn a corner and there's Pluto, or you turn a corner and there's Tiana. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those amazing things that you can only get from a Disney cruise. And the same thing is like, we tend to cruise just ourselves now, not with children, but in the past we have cruised with our own kids and with friends' kids and everything else. And we know how the Oceaneer Club and the Oceaneer Lab, and like it is the best kids club at sea, and how they can get so caught up in it that they just that's it. They're, you'll hardly see them for the entire cruise. Because,
exactly.
You're always fighting to have this family vacation because they want to go do their thing. But it also is nice because it gives you that time where you can go and enjoy your own version of the club.
Right. Yes, that's right. Exactly.
So,
for sure.
Aside from those things, I know, Frank, I think you've been on other cruises as well. I'm not sure, Jen, if you've been on other cruises. How would you compare them to some other cruises that you've been on?
Well, I mean, I've been on Royal Caribbean and Celebrity. I think we did Norwegian when we were kids. And, my mindset kind of had to shift a little, and we can say why in a second, I guess. But for Royal Caribbean, we did a big Mediterranean cruise, my wife and I, in 2013, and so that became a very high bar to reach over time in terms of the ports and the food and the size of the ship, and what's all the little tastings and the offerings that they had, because that was definitely a thing for me. Was whether COVID, not COVID, dealing with the app I found very challenging prior to the cruise. And
because you're old.
Because I'm old. Right. I'm 7.5 years older than Jen every day. And that, but even I was like, what are they doing? Why can't I? It felt like they were releasing little things every day. I felt like they were playing games with me. I thought it was very personal towards me. And so I hadn't dealt with that part of it before. So I felt with the technological side of it made for a bit of a challenge. And the lines on the Disney cruise are so long at Crest Relations, where I used to like talking to the people at the desk. I never even went near the desk this time around. Right.
What about you, Jen? What did you think?
For me, so about 10 years ago, we went on a 4-night on the Wonder. And so we had loved the service, loved the food. And we have also been on Celebrity and MSC and have we been on Norwegian? I don't know. Princess we were on. We loved our Princess cruise. So, we never really had bad cruise experiences, but once we went on Disney, we were like, well, how are we supposed to go backwards from there? And again, it was just, everything was taken up a notch of just, we've never had a bad cruise or bad food or bad service, but Disney, it's Disney service. You're getting everything. It's amazing. And I think, and we discussed it a little bit, I think, in one of our post shows that we do, that I think our expectations food wise on this cruise were really high. And I don't know if it's just the current state of the world or what it is. The food wasn't bad. Right. I think it just didn't meet the expectations we had. Sure. And I think for Frank, he was like, oh, this food's going to be phenomenal. We're on a Disney cruise. And he was like, what's happening? Is this how good? Is this what you guys were raving about 10 years ago? What's happening? So, that didn't quite meet our expectations, I guess. But then we are in this new world of being parents, so that the things like the Oceaneer Club and getting all the character interactions, that's about the kids, right? Not about us at all. That is outweighing everything else. Sure. So I think it all evened out, but I still feel like there is something magical about a Disney cruise in comparison to other cruises out there.
And I think we found that too with the food, in regards to the food, that, it's not what Disney does best on the cruise. I mean, we've been on many other cruise lines as well, and they all do something well. Some of the food is better and others not so much, but they all have something they kind of do well. Right. Disney, it's the entertainment, in my opinion. I don't know about what you two think.
Oh yeah, because we saw Aladdin and Frozen on the ship, and yeah, I mean, those shows, sometimes I'll go to shows on other cruises and sometimes I won't, or
Right.
I'll see a comedian or whatever it is. I don't know that I've ever gone to something of this caliber, I guess, but these shows were I think Frozen probably won out for us over Aladdin, but they were both amazing. Yeah. Hashtag real men love Frozen.
Right.
Get your merch over.
Yeah, and I think with the food, it was a high expectation. It is what I mean. You go to the theme parks, you kind of like, well, you kind of know what the food is at the theme parks. Why should it be any different? But it was just weird that it was also the menu offerings for me, and I didn't feel. Usually, I go on a cruise and I'm like, oh, I don't know which of these 3 entrees to choose from, and I would struggle for one on some nights, and I thought that was so strange. And when I found myself choosing the Mickey ice cream bar over the desserts that are listed on the menus on a couple of nights, it gave me pause. So it was could it be the supply chain issues, the quality of the food they're going after these days, the staffing and what the culinary staff is capable of, how many people are back there in the kitchen. It could be all of these things. But at the end of the day, I was often surprised by, wow, there's really nothing I want to choose from tonight. What is that about?
That happens.
Yeah, I think so too. So I'm curious to know, how did you all address sea days? Like what was your thought process of, gee, we're gonna have a sea day, so what are your plans?
I think one of the best things about, especially, we hadn't been on a cruise in years. For me, I hadn't been on a cruise since I had kids, so it had been a good 8+ years. So me and Mr. Snidillo walked away from that cruise going, oh, so nice to like not have plans and not have this schedule to keep and not have to worry about anything except like, we should eat. So our days were centered around, we usually all met up for breakfast. We would go to the pool for a while. And then I think some days the kids would go to the kids club for a little bit, but we always wanted to squeeze in a nap. Again, this is about the kids, right? Not about us at all. So we'd kind of like work in this family nap time, and this way the kids could stay up a little later in the kids club and we could stay up a little later as well. I mean, Tom, you were talking about your bedtime earlier. I too enjoy an early bedtime, so I needed a nap if I was going to make it through. But yeah, I think the simplicity of sea days of like, yeah, let's hang out at the pool and watch, some Pixar movies, and let's take a nap when we want to, and whatever it was nice and easy, I would say, for me.
Yeah, especially in the early sea days. I mean, every cruise has been different of how I react to things. So like this time around, I went back to the patch. I hadn't used the patch in a while. The patch always makes you irritable, so I got to get rid of the patch. And then it's like, what? And then it's the medication. And which medication am I taking? All the is it Dramamine and whatever else I have? I can't drink for a couple of days, but I want to drink. So how does that factor into all the things? So it's a little bit about pacing for myself on the sea days, but this was a very smooth cruise for sure. Nice. So I didn't have the normal, oh my god, the boat is just moving and I'm moving in the opposite direction, what's happening. So yeah, and I think we talked about, man, just one cruise. You think we could just sit at the pool for a week and watch Funnel Vision all day into the night? Like how would that go? The movies, you get sucked into those movies. It's crazy.
Yes. It's amazing to just look around as like Inside Out is starting and you just see all these adults sitting on the edge of the pool, just staring up at the screen, no longer paying attention to their children. It doesn't matter. They're all just watching. People are in lounge chairs, getting some sun while watching What Happens to Riley and Her Emotions. I think we haven't shared this picture yet, Frank, and we might have to, of that one of those first 2 early sea days where you're probably knocked out from whatever combination of things you were taking taking.
That's true.
And you were just passed out on a chair right next to the pool. And I was like, well, that's content if I've ever seen it. So
that's a
maybe
scoop
it's a
for you
t-shirt
guys
someday.
right there.
Maybe. I don't know.
I like it. And we I tell you what, we kind of treat most of our cruises, especially to the Caribbean and to Mexico, because we've done them so many times. Similar to what you do, is that every day is a sea day because we're very rarely getting off on those ports because we've been there a few times.
Yeah.
So, so that makes it even that much better. But,
I think
No, go ahead.
Castaway Key was like a definite for us. Like we want to get off there, and that island was amazing. As it, when we went, it was before we had kids. So going as 1 year newlyweds to Castaway Key, we're heading to the adult side, and we're just sitting. So it was a different vibe this time, but it was awesome. We even convinced Mama and Papa Dillo to get off the ship because they're seasoned cruisers. They also just like to stay on the boat because they've been everywhere and done it. But we got them off, and they had a great time. We were all in the water pretty much the entire time except for eating lunch, and so that was great. So yeah.
And I'd like to confirm that it was Sapphire Beach.
Oh,
Well, I didn't want to leave your listeners hanging.
Right.
Oh, we'll never know. What beach was it? Look for the Frank was here sign in the sand.
That's right. It's all in rocks.
Yeah. And Frank, I also suffer from seasickness a lot. So what works for me, and again, everybody is different, but bow 9 works for me. So I don't know if you want to try that.
Yeah, I've done the bow 9 before. Didn't do the bow 9 this time.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's a little less drowsy for me, and I just kind of like it better, but to each his own. Anyway, moving on back to a little bit of the food. Did you guys try either of the specialty restaurants, either Remy or Palo, while you were on the ship?
Yeah, so I had done Palo 9 years ago. So Palo dinner 9 years ago. So I was like, I'm okay if I don't. But I would like to try brunch. So we had put ourselves on a brunch waiting list, but then Frank and Mrs. Dillo had made a dinner reservation. So they actually did dinner, I think kind of like halfway through the cruise, right?
Yeah,
when you did
it was halfway through. But I think it was the night before too. You went to brunch. If I recall, because we had to convince Judy to get you in. Judy was a wonderful cast member at Palo. When we finished dinner, she made the assumption that we were coming back for brunch the next day, and that she said you're on you're on the waiting list for tomorrow. And I think based off of how much wine we paid for on that dinner, that she was like, oh, why don't you come to brunch tomorrow so you can spend as much money as you did as you did tonight. And I was like, oh, no, that's my sister. And so then it became a little I want to say a test of wills of whether or not Judy would put us on the list, put Jen on the list, and eventually Judy complied. And but she was great. She's one of those people that you can't, when you get great service, right? You expect like the nice and smiles and everything else, but
peppy.
Yeah, the peppy. But Judy had an edge, and like maybe a New York edge with that customer, with that Disney service behind it. So I appreciate like when it's not the typical great customer service. It's still great customer service because she was having fun. She was having fun pulling my strings a little bit.
I think we've had Judy in Palo before.
I was gonna say, you guys look like you know Judy
several times. Maybe
so anyone who
we'll
listens,
give you some stories.
Okay.
I
like it.
Well, everyone else should say hi to Judy now from Mom Michelle and the Cardillos as they next time they're at Palo.
Exactly.
That's so funny.
She has a long history there.
Yeah.
I
like
it. I look forward to further conversations.
Yes.
Jen, so you got to do brunch?
I did. And it was awesome. And we sat there and said, oh, well, on this next cruise we're all coming to brunch. I had also heard, and I didn't know how true this was, that like, oh, maybe Palo dinner wasn't as worth it anymore as like Palo brunch was, or whatever the case. But, I also feel like we made the mistake of having breakfast that day. I mean, our reservation wasn't until 12:30, but you can't eat for about 3 days before doing Palo brunch because there is just so much food. it was also a day I had been feeling the boat a little bit more. So I was like, I can make it through. I can do this. But everything was amazing. And, you could also probably just sit there all day. And he even asked it. He was like, you have anywhere to be? Have any other specific plans? We're like, well, we have children to pick up. He's like, okay. Any other tastings? Anywhere? Anything time sensitive? We're like, our children need to be picked up again. But no, otherwise we're good. But, everything, you're not feeling rushed.
Right.
They'll bring out the courses whenever you're ready for them. And yeah, everything was delicious. I am now gluten-free for the last year or two. So I made some substitutions, but still good. Some things weren't substituted, and I just stared at them and wished I could have them. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. And I know Frank did the wine pairings, as he kind of spoke about a little bit, but I don't know. What did you eat? I don't know if I know what you ate.
Did we
discuss that?
We did. Well, we kind of, Mrs. Dillo and I kind of split the difference down the line. So, but we ended up both having the beef because we were not happy with the beef in the dining room. So we're like, we're getting beef tonight because we're expecting it to be better. And it was delightful. And so that was good. And yeah, we, the calamari and and then we split the desserts too. I had the chocolate souffle and then she had, oh man, I'm blanking on what she had. I'm not prepared. Give the answer in 10 minutes. Don't worry, everybody.
He just blurts out answers every once in a while. Like, what's that about?
It's a tease.
Remember 25 minutes ago?
That's right.
We appreciate you keeping the listeners around. Yeah.
Stay tuned for the next answer.
She had the limoncello tart.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
choices.
We're huge fans of both meals, but we love Palo brunch. Like that is a must do every single time. So
yes,
glad you got to experience it, Jen.
Yeah, there was a bit of a time constraint. I felt like because they say Remy is like a day and a half. He's at the restaurant. Is that true? Like what?
Yes, it is. Yes. It's a pure European. Like if you go to Europe and you go into dinner, you're going to be there for 4 or 5 hours. That's Remy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing, the whole process of it.
It's also an amazing bill at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I know you all talked about winning some things, and I know I'm not asking any trivia questions ever again.
But you have been so proud, Michelle.
Yes, I want to know, like, when you're there, how competitive are you all during the trivia challenges?
I'm going to let Jen explain it. I think give a good bird's eye view.
I think so. The first one we did, was that the movie quotes? Or no,
the villain's quotes was the last one.
The villain's quotes was the last one.
The first one was like a general pop culture. It wasn't Disney. It wasn't completely Disney based. It was more broad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were, I was doing what I did a lot in high school, which is look over at someone else's paper. And I would do that to Frank every once in a while. So it'd be like the 6 of us at a table and sometimes I would know something. I'm like, yeah, I got that one. I totally know it. Mama and Papa Dillo were like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. What's happening. And then every once in a while, I would see Frank like immediately as the question was asked, he was like writing something down. I'm like, what'd you say? What was it? Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. I'll do that. So there was a little bit of that going on. So then as we're tallying up all of the answers towards the end, we also appreciate there's no fact checking on any of this. Right. So I don't want to give that away. Don't cheat anybody out there. So have fun and be honest.
Be honest. The honor system.
Nobody's checking. So it was like, how many had over 10? How many had over this? And so they finally get to, I don't even know what you had. Was this a 28.5 or something?
It was high.
And they were like, what? And I think someone else said shenanigans. I don't think someone believed that it happened, but Frank wins trivia.
Wow.
So I
I thought you guys weren't good test takers.
We're not.
Well, this is
I'm
why I
still
don't
not.
like to get too competitive
Yes.
about it. I'm not good.
And to that point of the question, the Dillo's competitiveness is probably maybe what you would expect, where we're Dilloing it the whole time. We're just writing down whatever, and like we don't care, and none of this is going to mean anything, and it's not going to come to anything. So when it does, you've never seen Frank so excited in his life. He was so happy. Hands were up in the air. He was like shock on his face. He couldn't believe that he won. They gave us some nice Disney Cruise Line tote bags. They gave like 4, so we're passing them out. We're all having a tote bag now. We were all we're like, this was a successful night. This was amazing. Yes.
Sweet.
I played baseball until my first year of college, and so I've tried to, I've watched many people over the years fall to the level of competitiveness and just watch them fall. So I was always kind of like, I don't want to be you. And then eventually I fell too. But something like this where I know it's going well, I'm like, oh, don't get into it. I'm answering a lot of questions. Don't get worked up about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually how it goes. The Disney villains quotes.
Yes.
Trivia at the end of the week. I mean, I would have liked to have checked that other team's paper at the end there.
That's true. You just missed out. You were second. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But even Mrs. Dillo, to her credit, nailed a couple of, and she's on the Disney fandom throughout the family, Mrs. Dillo. At the bottom.
Yeah.
But she was like, Sir Hiss. And I was like, what are you? This cruise has rubbed off on you. And I like it.
And shout out to Meg, who was the trivia master. She was doing all the trivia at our new favorite location. And now I'm blanking on the name of the pub. What's the name of the pub?
O'Gill's, right?
O'Gill's. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Oh, God. Love it there so much now.
Yes. Shout out to Sunny. Also.
Sunny, yes.
Took care of Jen all week with her coffee drink.
Love it. Love it so much.
So I'm interested to know, did you get to catch any of the morning shows, like with the cruise director giving like a rundown of what's the exciting things of the day? And, what were your thoughts on that if you did?
Well, as the week went, I would say, I'll just say no.
Short answer is no.
As the week went on and the kids were out later, they, for a change, at least mine did. I can't speak for Jen's children who never really sleep past the crack of dawn, but my child was sleeping later into the morning with every hour that she went to bed later, which was lovely. And I really want to know what blackout curtains they use on the ship so that we can have them in her room every day of the year. So no, I did not. We did encounter him at the start of the cruise when we first. Jen didn't realize until after the fact, and that was really our only interaction, except prior to the shows.
Yeah, and I think halfway through, I'm like, I haven't really heard announcements. I don't know what's going on this boat. I don't know anything. And that's very odd for me on a cruise. I'm usually very up to date on what we're doing, what all the activities are. And I was like, oh, well, that's because they're not piping into the rooms, which I appreciate for the kids. And my kids are taking over the TV as soon as they wake up, and they're just going to on-demand Disney Junior shows. So I have no idea what's happening. So I think when we saw him, we probably saw him on the Aladdin night, because that was the night before Castaway Key, I think. So he came out before, or Frozen. He came out before Frozen, I think, and kind of talked about what would be happening on Castaway Key and what time we were getting there and everything. And I'm like, hey, I haven't seen this guy the entire cruise, not realizing I met him the first day we immediately walked on the boat. But this cruise, I was the least knowledgeable about. I mean, I guess on the app you saw things, but in a typical sense.
I missed a newsletter on my bed at night or under the door in the morning. I need I need it in print.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm okay with the app, but I get it. There's something nice about having it right there and like getting it every night. And you see that you get back to your after dinner to your room and it's there, and you start perusing through it, planning out your next day. There is something better than being on your phone, like you're kind of trying to break away from that when you're on vacation.
Right, especially on a cruise.
Yeah. I do kind of miss that. I agree.
Yeah.
I did realize, like, at that first day, we were like, so where's we kept calling it the non-windjammer. Where is Cabanas now? Where's the place you get the buffet breakfast? How we have missed this on the boat. And then I'm looking on the app. I'm like, I swear, I am missing it. I know this exists on this boat. Where do you go for breakfast? And I think I still kind of had texting that night. And I'm texting my friend who had just come back. I'm like, where is this? He's like, it says it on you do not have the app. I'm like, maybe I have the wrong app. I don't know. I don't see it. But like, then the next day it was loaded and I'm like, oh, here it is. I just had to be patient. I didn't realize, but I'm like, where is this place? So we have to find it.
And she says, I'm old.
Yeah, exactly. It kicks in sometimes.
Well, also wanted to know, like, are there any things that you would recommend for people who haven't been on a cruise either recently or at all, kind of like your situations that are like, this is a must do, especially for a Disney cruise?
It's hard because it's hard to sit there and say, watch the movies, right? Because you're on a cruise. So to go into the theater or to watch Funnel Vision, but they're obviously the big screen on the top deck of the cruise is amazing. Right. So how could you not recommend that? And even the theater inside is amazing for the movie screenings. I'll also say that while we did not complete it, the Muppet scavenger hunts that they have throughout the ship was a lot of fun, and I thought a brilliant use of the Muppets, which we're always into. is a good utilization of the Muppets, and I really enjoyed that. And it's a good exercise. If you have a couple hours to spare.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And I did think of 10 years ago when I had gone, that I think we saw Wreck-It Ralph in the movie theater. And as we were watching it, we were like, should we be doing this? We're on a cruise. What are we doing in the movie theater? But there was like something about it that made it amazing. And during that cruise, we also loved at night, especially going up to Funnel Vision and watching the movies. And it's like, you get like a different kind of Disney breeze. We like the Disney breeze. It's a little bit different, but it's that same vibe where you're just out on the water. It's night, it's peaceful, you're watching a movie that's like a comforting movie because it's Disney. And so we had said that if our kids had gone to the Oceaneer Club and it was just me and Mr. Snidillo on the boat, we'd be up there every night probably. We were trying to be social with the family and hang out together on this family vacation and have some drinks and see what else the ship had to offer. But had it just been us, we may have snuck up there and done that a few times. And even I was planning on trying to get the kids up there one night too, but we're no competition with that Oceaneer Club. So I think also maybe kind of just walking the ship is kind of a must do because of those character interactions. I don't think on those first day or two where you see those lines, that's like, well, great, I'm never getting a picture with anybody on this ship. If you just walk around, oh my goodness, you'll see so many. I mean, Frank had this whole party with Goofy at one point. They were up the steps, down the steps. They were posing in different places. We're like, is he trying to leave us? No, we're still in it together. Okay, what's happening? And we watched Rapunzel with a little girl, and she was bringing her all around to show her different characters she was seeing, and it was like, this is also magical. We love it. Right. So yeah, I would say kind of just like take it all in. There's so many details on the boat. There's so many, little carvings and things, and the pictures that move, and there's just so much happening.
Right. And I know I remember you on your show talking about the background music that as you're walking around, and Yeah.
It's so great.
By the way, Star Wars Day at Sea, I don't think they don't have those anymore.
Right.
They may come, hopefully they come back eventually. But when you wake up that morning, because it's only one day, and then suddenly it's just Star Wars music all the way through, John Williams being piped through. It's incredible.
I don't think even Jen knows this, that because I wasn't, again, ill prepared, right? But I was like, maybe there's going to be something on the sign Star Wars related. So without telling Mrs. Dillo, I had packed my Jedi robe costume and my 6-year-old's Princess Leia costume and like packed it like at the bottom, like underneath everything, so it could never be found. I never used it, but it was there just in case.
Being
That's
prepared.
really funny.
That's pretty
Yes.
good.
How'd you guys like? Did you like the deck parties, the pirate party? Did you take part in some of those? Fun activities?
So we went up for Pirate Night. It was insanity. I feel like because we went higher than the pool level.
Right.
And so we were able to look down, which is kind of just like looking down at Main Street during fireworks.
Right.
It's just a wall of people. So although our spot was pretty windy and blew off my pirate bandana a couple of times, it was kind of a cool spot because then we got to see like Captain Hook ran up the steps right next to us and, all that kind of stuff is going on. But I love the theme nights and how many people get into it. I mean, and overall, we haven't tangented much. I have to do it a little bit. That as we were doing that scavenger hunt, we were passing a lot of rooms, and we did not really realize that we should have decorated our door because this is all the rage.
Yes.
And we're like, oh my God, these are seasoned Disney cruisers. They know what they're doing. We need to be prepared next time. We need some Dillo's Diz magnets. We need to get on this.
Right.
But it is cool to see how many people get into the spirit of everything, including the pirate night. But yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that. And we didn't go too all out. The kids dressed up more than we did, but we did a little hint of it. But yeah, it was fun. And we were in the Enchanted Garden, I think, that night. Were we?
I think so, for Pirate Night, yeah.
For Pirate Night, yeah.
And that would be one other thing I would recommend would be try to see if you can line up your nights so you get 3 in the animator's palette.
Yes.
And if you could start in it so that you start there on a 7 night and end there so you get 3 rounds. Because we only got 2 rounds and I wanted 3.
Yes, we all wanted 3. My 8-year-old was just complaining yesterday that we weren't in there one more time, and he's like, "Because mommy put us in the." I didn't put us anywhere. That's just the itinerary. I didn't do that, but maybe next time we can try for that.
So funny.
Like, mommy also wanted to be an animator's palette,
Right?
Okay? So I was feeling the same way. But yeah, the theming is great. And I know, we haven't done like the Halloween cruise and hopefully they do bring back Star Wars, but I'm like, ooh, those would be really fun to do.
Yeah.
There would be, that'd be cool.
Yeah, the Halloween one's great.
Yeah, looking forward to because the Pixar one's starting up now.
Right.
Oh, right.
In place of the Star Wars one, so I'm looking to see how they do that on their Pixar Day at Sea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be fun too.
And I know you covered this a lot in your show, and I don't want to take a lot of your time on this.
Everybody should go listen to their show too.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
thanks for
shows.
having us.
But to talk a little bit about like the Oceaneer Club and everything, and the reason I bring that up is actually I think it was the year before the pandemic, we had gone on with some other couples who had some little kids, and at the time they were being a little bit looser with which age groups could go where. And in talking to some of the kids there, because we have to like interview kids now too, but they weren't really as enthusiastic because the activities were kind of more left to do what you want. And so because there were so many different age groups, I think the counselors were really struggling with, getting groups together to do things. So can you talk about, because I think now it sounds like it has that a little bit more that structure that, then kids of the certain age groups could really appreciate what the activities were being presented to them.
Yeah, I almost felt like what really got my 8-year-old in is knowing he could play on an iPad if he went there. So it's like, wait, my iPad doesn't work on this cruise, but if I go here. So yeah, I think the age ranges are pretty big. We were looking at another cruise just to see what their club would offer, and they like our kids would have been separated because of the 8-year-old. He would have been aged out or whatever it is. So the fact that they all got to be together, which was really cool. And I did, at times I felt like I saw older kids when sometimes we would drop them off in that main area on that interactive dance floor of sorts. And I was like, oh, I do wonder how some of like the 10, 11-year-olds feel. Like, do they feel like I don't want to be here with 5-year-olds or what it is? So for us, I don't know that we could really speak to the wide range. I felt like our kids always found stuff to do. They really liked Pixie Hollow because there were crafts going on in there. But also we had our kids met an awesome counselor, Mr. Moose, as he was known on the cruise. So they really connected with him, especially my 8-year-olds. They would compete in some of the games and some of the online games as well. And he left a note for both of my kids on that last morning, which was
to hear.
Insanely magical. And such a surprise. And it was so sweet of him to do. But so that, little Disney magic, especially when you're so sad to be leaving. And so unexpected, but he spoke about them and how great they are and how much fun he had with them. So, whereas in the beginning, I don't know that we could really fully understand what was going on in there as the week went on, and especially being able to see the different rooms towards the end. I did find like they always found things to do. None of them were ever bored, and none of them were ever anything like that. And I did like that they could all be together when they wanted to be. And I think at times they were all separate and running around and doing their own thing too. So
cool.
Yeah.
And I know, I guess on the reverse, that my 6-year-old, I'm Jen's more on Long Island. I'm in Queens. She just did summer camp with a wide range of ages, and so I feel like that doesn't affect her on the young side. And I would suspect as she gets a little older that because of what she's experienced already, she's that if there's a wide age range, that it's not it doesn't affect her too much.
Cool.
Very cool. Well, talked a lot about it. Bottom line, let's get down to it. What's your overall opinion of Disney Cruise now that you've done it for the first time, Jen, for the first time in 10 years? And do you plan on booking another one anytime soon?
Frank, I'll let you go first.
Well, I think as a whole family, I think, we all turn our heads towards Papa Dillo because this was his brain child. And, to see he got everything he wanted out of it. So I think it then trickles down to all of us about how it was. I think, again, I had to change my mindset. So seeing it from the kid's point of view, like there's nothing better like this. There's not going to be a cruise line that beats the Disney Cruise Line for my child in this age range. We did Celebrity 3 years ago in 2019, and she did camp there every day. Loved the camp there. But what's being offered here is not what's being offered there. And you just can't match that. And, you guys mentioned Tiana before, and that's when the light bulb started going off for me a little bit. We were coming back from dinner one night and walked down to our room was on the same floor as the garden. And Tiana was just hanging out there. And we were like, what's happening right now? What's going on? Well, how did this happen? And the two of them, and my daughter and her, were just having a sass off basically with the hand on the hip and talking back and forth. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's go. So, for Mrs. Dillo, I think she is she was very big on Castaway Cay. I think whatever this new island that they're talking about, I call it Lighthouse Lane. It's not called that. Whatever it's going to be called.
Lighthouse Point.
I think any cruise that has two of those in the mix will probably light her up quicker than, because she's a beach person. So so that's where that would go there. The price point is what it is. So that's the debate with everything Disney.
Yeah, it's explaining Disney money to any other vacation, right? I mean, you can't compare because it's two different things. And no, I'm not going somewhere else and spending $500 on a hotel, but Disney, that's a deal. Yeah. I think having moments like leaving Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique so that our little princesses can meet Cinderella coming around the corner. Like, what? How do you beat that ever in life? And the fact that we were together and the three of the kids get along so well, and we had adjoining rooms, and that was just the best thing ever. And they just wanted to spend every second together. So I think it's funny because Papa Dillo probably halfway through was like, would you do this again? Whereas we're thinking like, this is a once in a lifetime trip, 50, 10, 10. Yeah. This is all this is. It's fine. And already halfway through, he's like, would you do this again? I think I'd do this again. And like all of a sudden it begins. Right. And as the week went on more, I was like, would you do this again? Like every year? Would you do this? And it's like, listen, first of all, twist my arm. I mean, however many times you want to do this, I will be here. So I think, whereas going into the cruise, I would have been like, oh, I don't know how often we'll be doing these. Maybe once every 10 years. Yeah. Now I'm like, well, maybe we will be doing it a little more often. Nothing is official yet, but I think it is more possible than I would have thought a month ago. Yeah.
Sweet.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I love hearing your insight on it. I mean, we get so wrapped up in our bubble that we've gone, we've been lucky enough to go a lot. So it's good to hear other people's viewpoints that maybe, Disney fans as well, but who haven't been, and see if it still lives up to people's expectations more than anything else. So really, really appreciate it. Frank, Jen, thank you so much for joining us. It's been way too long. We're so happy to have you back, have another wonderful conversation. Let everybody know where they can find Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz and follow you on the socials.
As Jen gestures to me to do the plugs. Well, thank you guys. You guys have moved to our side of the country since the last
I know, it's so nice to be in the same time zone.
Yeah.
And before I do the plugs, Tom, if the Mets and the Padres face each other in the playoffs this October, we're going to have to put a little wager in place and see how it all goes.
Padres.
Look at that.
Padres.
I like the combo. It's nice. So we'll have to offline about that. So the podcast Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz drops every Thursday on your favorite podcatcher, social media, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Oh, the TikTok
with
Dillo's
great numbers.
Diz. With our those TikTok
it's just
numbers.
Our biggest following. Who would have thunk? Not us.
It's like, we have to keep doing TikTok now. At Dillo's Diz, Dillo's with an S, Diz with a Z. We have a Patreon at dillosdizresort.com. We started kind of fine-tuning what the levels are. We're offering a little bit more with our live streams over on our Patreon, and that's at dillosdizresort.com. And otherwise, we keep doing the thing. We're dillosdiz.com is the website where you can find your connection to all our things all of the time. YouTube channel, youtube.com/dillosdiz. I always forget the YouTube channel.
Well, again, definitely check them out. Their show is excellent. Yes. We love it. We listen every single Thursday. It's one of our favorites. These guys are great. They're a fun follow on social media. So do it, subscribe, tell your friends, leave a review, do all the stuff because you won't be disappointed for sure.
No, it's definitely enjoyable. And we tremendously appreciate your time this evening to come on, kind of late-ish in the evening.
Especially for some of us.
Some more than others. We appreciate you having us at any time of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
much fun. It's been so long since we've talked with Frank and Jen.
Right.
We've interacted with them on social media and stuff, but to actually sit down and have a conversation, even if it is virtual with them, it was just really good to talk with them and hear all about their Disney cruise experience.
Right. It was totally wonderful. And it was especially great, like after post the episode that we had some time to talk with them and just about different things in life and how fun.
We had a little time. I was a little tired because it was pretty late for me considering I have to be at work very, very early in the mornings now, but it was still great to talk with them and we enjoy their company very much and hopefully we can start doing this more often. I don't want it to be 2 years in between when we speak with them again. And hopefully we can work it out when they happen to be in Florida again. We just missed them this last time.
Right.
So hopefully the next time they're down here, we can connect with them in person.
That's true.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
That would be great. So let's go ahead and move on to this week's Disney Stories of the Week. We have a few things for you this week. I'm going to start with, we now know the all-star lineup that will be heading up EPCOT's Candlelight Processional this holiday season. This from the Disney Parks blog. They said, get ready to fill your holiday season with songs at the Candlelight Processional, returning to Epcot International Festival of the Holidays starting on November 25th. This time-honored tradition has been a part of the holiday season at Walt Disney World since its opening in 1971. So you can experience the celebrity narrators, the Voices of Liberty a cappella ensemble, a 50-piece live orchestra, and glorious masked choirs as they present a heartwarming retelling of this traditional Christmas story. It's one of our favorite things during the holiday season for sure.
Yeah, it is. If you do it early in the season, it's really a kickstart for your holidays. Or if you wait till closer, it's just kind of this is it. It's here and it's exciting and it's just a wonderful experience. You can go year after year and just always enjoy it.
Yeah, looking forward to it, and we're trying to work out our date that we're going to go this year too, right now, because we're going to get to this lineup of celebrities that will be narrating this year's Candlelight Processional, and it is another fantastic list. And I'm going to go down it really quickly here. So, beginning at
if you want, you can just do the names because we have in our blog the dates.
Okay. Well, here are the names that you'll be going through. And these will be in order without the dates. So Simu Liu will be kicking it all off. You may know him as Shang-Chi from the Marvel new franchise. Definitely he'll be fun to check out. He seems like an interesting dude for sure.
And it's new. He's a new celebrity narrator that hasn't been at the Candlelight Processionals before.
So that'll be a lot of fun as well. Not new, who's done it many, many times, returning this year. Edward James Olmos will be back to do it again.
This is amazing.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I take your word for it because he's an amazing dude. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Even though they're all reading from the same kind of overall script, they can customize some things too here and there, and they all have their little parts to it that make it different and fun.
They all bring their little flair to it, for sure. Moving on, Tony Award winner Raul Esparza will be showing up. Whoopi Goldberg, you may know her, Disney legend. Isabella Rossellini as well. Shark Tank investor and creator of FUBU, Damon John, is going to be doing it, which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
It's his first time doing the Candlelight Processional. Also first time, Josh Gad.
I know.
Olaf himself. Hashtag Real Men Love Frozen. Spoiler alert, that may be the date we're looking for because we love Josh Gad.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that this will be his first year doing it.
Yeah, and I was surprised by that as well, but I'm excited to hear what he brings to the narration of that wonderful event. Also new this year, Gloria Estefan.
Right.
Another one that I'm a little surprised is new, especially with her Florida base here, so that's cool. Not new, returning guest favorite, Neil Patrick Harris, of course. Mariska Hargitay, also new from, of course, Law and Order. I believe it's SVU is the one that she does. So that's cool. Baseball favorite Cal Ripken Jr. is going to be doing it. That's cool. Marie Osmond. Courtney Vance is doing it as well. And they're finishing it all up with Angela Bassett. So that is a knockout lineup of narrators this year. So
crazy, amazing talent there.
Yeah, and you might want to, if you're interested in any of them at all, of course, you can just do standby to get in to see them. But the best way to do it, in our opinion anyways, is to booking a candlelight processional dining package. And those go on sale beginning on October 6th. So if you want to find out more about it, go to EPCOTholidays.com. But yeah, I think they've even added...
Or our blog.
Okay, well, there we go. Or our blog. Because Michelle is doing all sorts of stuff that I don't even know, but I'm happy that she is. Yeah, I mean, that's a really great way to do it. You're going to be eating at the parks anyway, and this will secure you a spot to see one of your favorite personalities there doing the narration. So really good way to do it. I believe they have breakfast, lunch, and dinner packages available for you. At least they have in the past. Yeah. So, you don't need to focus on a dinner or a lunch. If you just want to do breakfast and do something else, like sample the foods around Epcot for your lunch and dinner for the festival of the holidays, you'll still have the ability to do that. So definitely check those all out if you really, really want to go. But again, you don't have to do that. You can stand by, but you will be waiting for a while to get into those. And
the line forms pretty quick.
There's no guarantee, especially for some of these bigger names, that you're going to hear on that list for sure. So moving on, there is a guest favorite late night event that is returning to the most magical place on earth. Again, we return to the Disney Parks blog. They say Disney After Hours events will return to Walt Disney World Resort starting in January of 2023. Yeah, these favorite experiences are scheduled to kick off January 4 at Disney's Hollywood Studios and January 9 at Magic Kingdom Park. They offer an incredible way to experience even more Disney magic during the last months of the world's most magical celebration, honoring Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary. As I told you, they just turned 51, but we're still in that 50th celebration. In case you aren't familiar with Disney After Hours, these late night separately ticketed events let you enjoy Walt Disney World theme park for 3 additional hours after regular park hours, with treats such as ice cream, popcorn, and select beverages included. Best of all, the number of tickets for these events is limited, which means lower wait times for some of your favorite attractions. I noticed on some of these dates that one of those, for Disney's Hollywood Studios, just happens to fall on my birthday.
Wow.
Interesting. If anybody wants to purchase me a birthday present, I will tell you right now, it is the least expensive date. So see, I'm a cheap date.
There you go.
Yeah, it actually, and there are discounts for annual pass holders and Disney Vacation Club members. So I think they knock anywhere from $20 to $30 off the regular price of those. So you want to look into those as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's good, even, especially since they're not selling annual passes. If you want to get a chance to go out to the park, like on these types of events where it is a lot less people there, that getting onto the attractions is a lot easier.
So with those tickets, you can enter the park where the event is taking place as early as 7 p.m., giving you the opportunity to get a jump on the fun. Disney After Hours admission is a separately priced ticket, not included regular daytime park admission, of course. You don't need to worry about getting a reservation for that. When you buy that ticket, that is your park reservation for that, but you can't get in until 7 p.m., just so you know that. They can be purchased beginning on October 7th, so another thing coming up for sale this week. The prices before the discounts, if you're an annual pass holder or a Disney Vacation Club member, are ranged from $129 to $159 plus tax for those evenings. The night that I'm talking about, if you're an annual pass holder, which we are, or a Disney Vacation Club member, which we are, is $99. It's the cheapest night for Disney's Hollywood Studios. So again, just putting it out there. Anybody wants to celebrate your second favorite Hyperion Adventures podcast host, I'd be okay with that.
So noted. Thank you, sweetie.
Anyway, if you have any questions about that, feel free to, send us a message, but you can also, of course, go to the Walt Disney World website and find it there as well. So moving on to our next story, which I found extremely interesting, although we don't have a lot of details on it, and I don't know if it's true or if it's a rumor, but I find it fascinating enough that we're going to share it here. This is from Deadline.com about we may be seeing a lot more of everybody's favorite purple dragon. They say a Disney film is in the works featuring the character of Figment.
Wow.
How exciting is that?
That is cool.
Of course, he's the small purple. If you don't know, which I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, if you don't know who Figment is, he's the small purple dragon who serves as the mascot of Epcot's Imagination Pavilion in Orlando. As far as the film, the feature hails from Seth Rogen's Point Grey with Pokemon Detective Pikachu's Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit set to write. That's what Deadline says they have learned. Figment, of course, was created by Walt Disney Imagineers and bestie of the Hyperion Adventures podcast, Tony Baxter.
Yeah.
Who we just met a couple weeks ago.
Right.
And Steve Kirk, among other collaborators, in 1983, the same year it made its debut in the Epcot ride Journey into Imagination. The feature will not be Figment's first time on the big screen, however. He made cameo appearances in 2015's Inside Out and 2019's Toy Story 4. So I actually didn't know that. I have to go and start looking for him in those movies now. Anyway, no real word out about one, if this is an official thing or if when it's scheduled to be released and, is it going to be in the theaters or will it be Disney Plus? But find it fascinating. And I think it's great if it's true that Figment's going to get more exposure out there.
Yeah. I mean, well, we heard at D23 that Figment will remain and a little bit more prominence, so that's good, and it would make sense that they would
for sure
include him on a film.
I love it. I think it's great. I thought maybe they might start doing some Figment like shorts, which I thought might be kind of an interesting way to use him. Sure. But hey, I'm all in if they have a good script, good story possibility for a full Figment movie.
Right.
I'm on board.
Yeah,
let's see
cool.
it. I'm looking forward to it for sure. And again, people are always worried that Figment's going away.
Right.
They keep showing that nope, they know people love Figment and he's going to stick around.
To the realization that
for sure,
better to keep him.
Finally, I just have one more quick note for you. Walt Disney World has confirmed that the highly anticipated DuckTales World Showcase adventure is officially going to be coming to Epcot later this year. So just in the next few months. We love the Agent P adventure. Yeah. We miss that that's gone. But we love DuckTales too, so we're very excited that that's going to be coming to World Showcase very soon because we're always looking for more fun ways to experience those different pavilions, and that's going to be a great way to do so.
Yeah. Like you said, we really enjoyed the Agent P one with the Phineas and Ferb theming, and it really was amazing. Some of the things that happen as you're doing those that adventure is really incredible.
Yeah, people would stop as you would do it. Like, what is that I'm seeing happening?
You're making things move within the pavilion and stuff like that.
I'm hoping the DuckTales one does similar things. I would. I have no official news on this, so this is just me speculating, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has to do with your Magic Band Plus, and also the Play Disney app, maybe some sort of combination of the two things. But again, I don't know that for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's the way it works. So we'll find out more details, I'm sure, in the coming weeks as we get closer to that actually debuting in Epcot for sure. So that's it for the Disney Stories of the Week. However, we never leave you without giving you some sort of tip that might help you on your next vacation. And when we do this, well, we always start with Michelle because she's awesome, wonderful, fantastic. She's gorgeous. She's very, very smart. She's very hardworking. She does the best research. She definitely has the best lists, but there's no question that she has the best tips. So let's get to it. Here is Michelle's tip of the week.
Oh, you're so sweet, sweet honey. So sticking with the theme of Disney Cruise Line, if you are traveling on a Disney cruise ship and you have either a tween or teen or both, what we'd recommend really is to really encourage them on embarkation that first day to go to whether it's the Edge or the Vibe, because that's at the moment where everybody is kind of the same, that they don't know each other. And the Disney counselors do great things like, icebreaker activities to get people to, come together, get to know each other, feel a little bit more comfortable interacting with each other, rather than not doing that. And, say later in the cruise that you're trying to go into that and you feel your child may feel more like an outsider because they're not as familiar. So this really gives them the opportunity to, like, right from the start, get to know and make some friends and feel comfortable with that additional activity areas that they can participate in.
That's a good idea. And we saw that on our last year's our Christmas, our very merry time cruise aboard the Disney Fantasy, that we got to see some of the groups of teens and some of the things they were doing and hanging out together. And they all did seem to, be getting along together and having a great time, as this sense of community, in that age group. And, they were up, getting some sort of non-alcoholic drinks, outside of one of the lounges by the pool and everything. And they were all just having a great time together. If you're concerned about your teen or your tween on some of these cruises, I can tell you right now from what we've witnessed, that these groups are fantastic for them, and they will have a good time.
Right. That they really, the counselors really know how to, make their cruise the best it can be and have fun and, do things that are of their age group that's most interesting and fun for them. The other thing I would suggest too on embarkation day for the whole group, and this is whether you have, children or just adults, is set up that chat feature on the app right away, because I think we found that one time we didn't do it right away. And it was like, oh, how am I going to send them a text? We have to send the codes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it gets a little tricky the farther you go along, or especially when you need to do it and you haven't already set it up. You're like, oh, no, great. I can't. How am I going to contact them now?
Yeah. So, anyways.
Good point. Michelle's tip. Always the best tip. My tip also has to do with Disney Cruise Line, and it also has to do with some things we experienced kind of this week. And that is, hey, it is storm season in Florida, in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Caribbean. But you may still want to do a Disney cruise during those times, So I'm going to pass along a couple tips for sailing during storm season, because, hey, sometimes you can take advantage of it. A lot of times, especially once you get past the summertime, that the cruises can be a lot less expensive, knowing that it's storm season. So people are kind of hesitant to sail because, as you saw this week, many cruise lines had to change their itineraries because of Ian going through. So, you can kind of get a good deal sometimes sailing on not only Disney, but various cruise lines that sail within the Caribbean. So here's a couple things that you should look for if you're planning on doing this. It's not time to worry about it. Don't really worry about the storm season. It's very unlikely that you'll have to be sailing near or through a storm. As a matter of fact, I know you won't be having to sail through a storm. They will change the itineraries for you. But there's some things to know about that if they are going to change your itinerary to make sure you have the smoothest sail possible. But that could throw some kinks in the system for you. So just be prepared for that. Also, you could be on the edge of a storm at time to time. So know that the prices could be lower, but the seas could be a little higher. So if you have some seasickness issues, or even if you don't all the time, you may want to have some precautions ready to go, just in case that the seas are a little higher. The biggest thing is be as flexible as possible on your sailing, because things can change very quickly out there depending on where these storms decide to go. Ships may have to change itineraries. Like I said, you could be on the ship longer even than you planned to. It may be shorter than you plan to, depending on how they're going to work around these storms.
To keep you safe.
Yeah, to keep you safe, but also to, make sure that these ships function as well. One thing I would suggest to you is that if you're going to some of these ports, when you're sailing in storm season, you may want to avoid some of the independent shore excursions, especially those that have some stringent restrictions on changing at the last moment, maybe not getting your deposit back or something, because of the fact that they may not be able to sail into a port, or they may, again, have to change from a Western Caribbean to an Eastern Caribbean, or vice versa, just because of where a storm may be headed. It just may be best either to try and look into it the last moment, or just go ahead and book a shore excursion with the cruise line, because you'll be secure that way. Sure. Another thing you may want to look into, and we suggest this pretty much every time with the cruise, is you might want to use a travel agent, because it doesn't cost you anything more to use a travel agent. But if something were to go a little bit sideways, not like safety wise, but maybe you're going to be out on the ship longer, or some things change, it's good to have that point person back on land that can help you with, securing different travel arrangements, maybe a rental car, transportation to and from the ship to the airport, whatever it may be, rather than you have to sit there and still be on your vacation and be scrambling yourself trying with ship Wi-Fi to get your own travel stuff done when things change.
No, that's a really good point. Because, even though like Disney, and as we know with Ian, that they did for some of the cruises that were going to be impacted by their duration, opened up to let them have free Wi-Fi and things. Like you said, it's slower. Everybody's trying to scramble for the same time. So having that one contact on land to really, help you out with that is a good point.
Yeah. And it's just, one thing you won't have to deal with, if you just contact your travel agent, say, this is what's going on. Can you secure, a flight and transportation back for us? Then you can still enjoy the rest of your time on the ship. You're not sitting there freaking out about it. You may still be freaking out about it a little bit, but at least you're not having to focus about being on your phone and trying to get this stuff done, or your computer or whatever. And that you have somebody who can help handle that for you. So another great thing that, we don't suggest necessarily for Walt Disney World trips or Disneyland trips, but we almost always use it for cruises. And that is travel insurance, because if, some of these things change and you do have to change your flight arrangements, or you do have to change your transportation, or there's some port issues that go on, a lot of times travel insurance will help you with some of the extra costs that may be associated with that. So especially during storm season, I really suggest travel insurance as a backup just to be safe.
Right. Now that's a really good point. And although technically hurricane season is, I think, like 6 months of the year, the real peak time for the larger, more damage producing storms is August and September. Before and after them, those times you don't see as much. Not that they couldn't be, but typically, like when you look at the, decades and decades and decades of times where hurricanes those were generally the months where they had the more damaging hurricanes.
Right. And don't think you're only limited, like if you're sailing in March, that you won't see a storm. It is entirely possible that you may see a storm. It's not as likely, but I know we've
a hurricane, but it could just be like a storm.
We've sailed a transatlantic cruise that was pretty stormy for most of it. So it can happen. So just be aware of that. But the key months are those that Michelle was just speaking of. That's when you really want to, make sure that you're prepared for your sailing, so you can still have the best trip as possible, even if things get a little dicey out there.
Right.
So that's it for this week. And next week, with the holidays approaching, you may be thinking about getting your family together for a little Disney vacation. So we thought, this would be a great time to share some tips on how to approach a Disney resort stay if you're planning on gathering with maybe 5 or more guests.
Right.
So we'll have some tips on resort stays, dining, reservations, cruises, a whole bunch of stuff. Michelle will have all sorts of stuff for you because she's really good at that kind of thing. So I know that she'll have all sorts of tips for you to get you prepared if you are planning, and that could be any time of the year. Of course, the holidays, you might want to get together with family, but summer vacations, you may be getting, some groups together from around the country that don't get to see each other often. And I'm sure she'll have some great ideas for you on how to handle that.
Well, thanks. Hopefully, and I know that sometimes even just when you're, with your immediate family, that so many things are kind of set up for, whether you're talking accommodations and everything, like a family of 4, and you may be a family of 5 or 6, and then it's like, okay, I have to maybe go a different approach. So we'll talk about that.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it. And I may be able to chime in as well, but I'm sure Michelle will have most of the good information for you because, let's face it, she always has the best information. So that's it. Anyway, we appreciate that you joined us today. In the future, you can find us most everywhere you get podcasts. However, the very best place to find us is on our own website, HyperionAdventuresPodcast.com. And while you're there,
please sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already and look for those new exciting things. And if you have ideas of how you want what contents you'd like to see in the newsletter, let us know.
Yes, it's all full of Michelle-ness, but it doesn't mean that it can't be added to. And Michelle would love to hear how she can do even more stuff that you want to read in our newsletter for sure. Another great way to follow along with us is on social media. We're on Twitter at Hyperion Podcast, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest at Hyperion Adventures Podcast. If you are on Facebook, come on over and join us for some good, positive Disney energy fun on our Hyperion Adventurers Facebook group.
Yeah, and be sure to share with us what is your favorite thing of the week of that group.
Yes, we would love it for your stuff to come through there. It's a great group, and we have a lot of fun there. And yes, lots of stuff is definitely encouraged there, but definitely my favorite thing from this week. We will share those always on the show for sure. Also, we are on YouTube. We should have a new video coming for you this week, all touring those Cascade cabins that we stayed in when we were out there a couple weeks ago. If you want to find us there, just do a quick search for Hyperion Adventures Podcast. Hit subscribe. You'll know whenever we have that video or any other new videos. And if you ever want to contact us for any reason, please hit us up at our Gmail account, HyperionAdventuresPodcast@gmail.com.
Right. And, we also like to always end the show reminding you that it's really helpful if you just tell a friend about our podcast. And that really helps our listenership grow.
Yeah, which it has recently. We had a great month the last month of downloads. Our numbers are getting up there, but it doesn't mean we don't want more people there. So please tell your friends about us. If you have the time, give us a rating. If you have even more time, give us a review. Those things are all helpful as well. So that's it. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Hyperion Adventures Podcast. We look forward to sharing some time with you again next week. Until that time, I'm Tom.
I'm Michelle.
And we hope that you have a magical week.